Hey folks, Zul here, and welcome to episode 2. So, when I started thinking about making these videos, I started typing on a document about the kinds of things I wanted to start off with, kind of talk about it. I just want to have a way to honestly just check in, because I feel like honestly when we acquire many different thing, sometimes we as people who collect or whatever kind of lose ourselves almost to the point where we think of ourselves as the accumulation of our things rather than the substance of, I don't know, our heart or our soul. So, hi, my name's Devin, and this is just a hobby. And I hope it is for you too. I hope it's not your life's work. I hope it's not your way of getting happiness, because material possessions at the end of the day, I say once again with a giant display behind me, are not the point of your happiness. And if we want to start talking about happiness and we want to start moving away from this, and that's something that people want to talk about, I'm all about that. Because that's my profession. I work in mental health. I work in public schools, and um, that shit's important to me. So yeah. So that is all to say. I just want to say, hey, how you doing? Have you had enough to drink? Have you had enough sleep? Have you had enough food? No? You feeling a little irritable? Pause the video. Grab something to eat before we dive in. Yeah, that'll get refined over the time of how I figure, or rather, when I figure out how I want to do these videos a bit more. But to kind of kick off, it's already minute 2, I see. I want to talk about this guy. He's not in a fancy case right now because I found out I have all these like lucite cases and everything that are flat, but I need to make them embellished or beveled, so it keeps the card safe and it's not like squishing the card, because I think after a couple of years some of these got a little for lack of a better term. So for right now, until I can make custom stuff, I'm putting these in these top loaders or card savers, what have you. But before we can talk about this guy, I gotta talk about this guy. So I started collecting Gyarados back when I was 12, just because Pokemon was all the rage. But at the time, I was really into dragons. Digimon at the time also came out. That's why I have this guy in here. For anyone who remembers the Digimon TCG, Metal Siegramon was my favorite card art from the series. And one of my favorite Digimons growing up as a kid, because I have a thing about dragons. Excuse me. And serpentine Chinese dragons in particular, they've always fascinated me. And so I got into the Pokemon game late as a kid, and like I didn't come from a well-off family, lived in a poor neighborhood, and so it was a while before I could get my own packs. And finally I got my first pack. I remember opening it up in middle school. It was like 5th grade or something. And I remember opening it up and I got a Dragonair. And this is the one. This is the Dragonair, and as you can see, it's scuffed, it's scratched, dirty, and everything. And that's because back in the day, before the world of binders and sleeves and everything, most of us just carried them in stacks like this in rubber bands. I devised a safety precaution though. I put all my rares and hollows in the middle. That way there was less of a chance of them like escaping to the surface. I don't know, it was a weird method at the time. But I was really happy because my first rare was a Dragonair, and I love dragons, and especially so when I was a kid. But I was also dumb. I was very gullible. I had one kid sitting in back of me who saw me open the pack, and he said, "Did you know that diamonds are more rare than stars, and he's talking about the rarity symbol for those who don't know a thing about Pokemon, which is not to shame you, just if you're tuning in now, great. I'm so glad and surprised you came to this little video series as an introduction to Pokemon. It's a wild world. And yeah, he told me diamonds were rarer than stars. I believed him. I traded my Dragonair for his Magmar and instantly regretted it because I like dragons. I don't like weird multi-gremlin-esque fire folk, and people are into Magmar. I know a Magmar collector, and honestly, it's a great Pokemon, just not me. And come on. So, long story short, I told my friend I was upset, and he told me that stars are more rare than diamonds, and with some help, he helped me get my Dragonair card back. And I didn't have the game for almost 2 years before that. I have a weird story about the video game and a Venomoth. We'll get into that. But along the way, I started getting introduced to Pokemon and everything. And even before I was introduced to this guy, there was another that I was introduced to. I'm going to probably knock some stuff over on the display case. I'll redo everything. I'm knocking stuff over. It's fine. But I remember walking along with one of my friends. His name was Chris, and he had an Alakazam. This is not the exact one that I had. This was a copy that I didn't pull, that I got later as a replacement copy. Because Alakazam is still one of my favorite Pokemon to this day. But there's something about purple and yellow and psychic and the occult. I grew up in a family that was rather, how to say this, conspiracy theory, like, family. We believed in UFOs, Loch Ness, and the government backdrops and everything, and I grew out of that, but I still loved like the occult and kind of the culture that came out of that. So I had a huge fascination with Alakazam, especially. And he only wanted Arcanine. He was an Arcanine collector. He was really into it, and finally, at some point, like, I traded him like 2 or 3 Arcanines, some other cards, and I finally got Alakazam. And I was pretty happy with where I was at. That was the number 1 card I wanted. I didn't want a Charizard. Like, it would have been cool, but wasn't my kind of dragon. So, anyways, down the road, I'm talking to one of my friends, Kleber, who lived in the neighborhood that I used to live in. And he shows me his Pokemon collection, and I'm looking through. I see like a Raichu, a couple of different other cards, and I notice he's missing an Alakazam. He doesn't have one, but he turns to like the second page, and I see this guy. I instantly loved it, and had to have it. I said, I will trade you anything that I need, or anything you need. And he didn't really want to give it up. But I traded my old favorite. I traded an Alakazam for it, traded a couple other things, and lo and behold, I remember carrying this home and just looking at it, staring at it. I had my big stack of cards in one hand, and I had this in my other, and I just walked the entire block home, carrying this card and just looking at it, and just being amazed by it. And like I said, I've always loved dragons, so I already knew about the dragon myth, about the carp from Chinese mythology, the Dragon Gate myth about the carp who swim up the stream and learn the strength of the struggle, and jump over the Dragon Gate to become full-fledged dragons. And that's where Gyarados comes from. And that started kind of an obsession. Now, this wasn't the card that made me start collecting Gyarados, but this was the start of the journey. Arita did a great job on this card. This is from Unlimited base set, so this is the 2nd edition or what have you. I don't really care. There's 14 depictions now of this art style between English and Japanese. 15 if you count the variations between first and thick stamp. I have my binder here. Can do a quick flip through. We'll talk about the rest of the cards more in detail. But yeah, this is just a played version just to remind myself like that this is not about the money for me. So you got your staff, you got your legendary collection, you got your no rarity on the bottom. Well, and let's see if I can do this safely. This is a weird angle. More legendary collection, and then you got your UK print, your shadowless first edition, your shadowless unlimited, and then you got thick and thin stamp. And we can talk about the variations at some other point, but I just kind of want to introduce the first 5 cards that really started this. We're going to touch on Himeno's Gyarados, the Dark Gyarados from Team Rocket, and we're going to talk about Mewtwo, because I wouldn't have a Gyarados collection without a Mewtwo collection, and that's kind of what really helped start my journey. So we're going to be talking about some of that, and we're going to be starting to talk about some of the non-TCG soon, because let's be honest, some of this stuff is really cool. But yeah, I was really happy. I did this in only my second take. The last video, which was half the length of what this is currently, took about 5 or 6 takes, and I'm looking at my list. Yeah, I think I really touched upon everything that I wanted to touch upon. This card was the first card that I ever got of Gyarados, and it really stuck out to me. And maybe at the beginning of next video, I forgot to bring my binder. I'm sitting on the floor right now, and I'm surrounded by boxes to keep things afloat. So I don't want to step all over the wires and everything just to get my binder that shows just 40 depictions of this art style, because I've learned to love it. Trust me, I would do the same thing for Shining Gyarados or Delta Gyarados from Holon Phantoms. But those are conversations for another day. Anyways, hope you're doing well. Hope you grab something to eat if you need to. Get some water if you're feeling headachy or irritable. And hope you get some sleep when you get a chance, because I know I made this video a little too late, and I'm probably going to go to bed after this. But yeah, so successful video number 2. Let's see where it keeps going. And yeah, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. If you're new to this, subscribe. Blah 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 blah. Like, I feel weird about saying that stuff, but I know that's how channels grow. So hey, if you like what you saw today, subscribe. If you didn't and you're subscribed, leave. You can do whatever you want. Anyways, hope you're well. Much heart and fire to you guys, and I'll see you around. Cheers for now.